Last week, I watched an Instagram live of the lead singer from Coldplay, Chris Martin, I think it is, and he had his piano there and his camera set up, and he was asking people to request songs, and he was playing them, and it was so good. It was such high frequency, high vibration, singing along. He's just such a great artist, I think, anyway. So if you're watching this video hoping you get something like that, you're absolutely not, because I've got no skills in singing. I've got no instrumental skills whatsoever. But I do have some skills in terms of health and coaching and training. And I thought I'd just share some of my ideas, be a little bit vulnerable and share some ideas publicly. And hopefully they help some people in some way, shape or form, because the reality is this is affecting everyone. There is no one who's not affected by this in some way. I mean, even the people who aren't affected are, because they can't go for a cup of coffee now, you know, in terms of, or catch up with friends. So it is impacting everyone in some way. And it's not just a health pandemic that we're facing now, it's turned into an economic pandemic, because when you shut down businesses and you shut down large parts of the economy, it has a massive tail, it has a massive flow-on effect. And we're seeing that now, which is really sad to see. So in addition to the great measures that I think our governments are at least slowly putting into place, the social distancing, the self-isolating, the washing of the hands, the hygiene, all that type of thing, which I think is fantastic, and hopefully everyone is engaging in that more and more. There are probably just a couple of other really simple things that anyone can do, and I know not everyone's into it, but for those that are, that could make a really big difference to the time that you are in isolation and to your health as well. The first one of those is gratitude. You know, having an attitude of gratitude is just so important. It is so valuable in my personal experiences for our well-being, to boost our immune system, to boost our endorphins, that type of thing. When you're genuinely grateful for the things that you have and the things we get to experience now, being alive in the world at this time, even though it's a really challenging time, personally, I reckon this is the best time in history to be alive. And anyone that's studied, you know, listens to Stoicism or listen to Marcus Aurelius or, you know, the words of Epictetus and so on, will know the words that this too shall pass. There is no doubt this is going to pass. There's going to be some pain, and unfortunately for a demographic of people, there's going to be an incredible amount of pain, but it is going to pass, which is a really great thing. So expressing gratitude, I think is just such an important thing to do. It's something that I do, first thing I do every morning. I write it down. I've got basically a book that I write things that I'm grateful for down in. That's how simple it can be. People do it different ways. It doesn't really matter. The point is, doing it has certainly made a massive difference to me, and I encourage anyone that's not doing it to do it. Another thing is breath work, breathing. And I know it sounds stupid because our body largely, you know, breathes to get rid of carbon dioxide itself. But experimenting and changing and deep breaths and holding of breaths and so on can have a huge difference on our immunity, our body's ability to deal with stress and so on. And I think the trend that Wim Hof has at the moment that's going around the world is just a wonderful thing, because he's demonstrating through practical experience, through, you know, fairly large numbers of people, the great benefits that you can get from a health point of view. But it's not just that. I mean, breathing and different types of breath work have been done by martial artists, been done by yogis, have been done in different meditations for decades and decades and decades before this, and it'll be done for decades to come. So I encourage you to get on YouTube if you're not sure about it, reach out to someone who might know about it and have a go of it. It can make an enormous difference. Obviously exercise, you know, exercise is literally a miracle cure. A mild to moderate amount of exercise is so good for our health and well-being. It's insane. It's so, it's probably the best antidepressant in the world. Doing things that you enjoy. If you're fortunate enough to be able to do some sort of exercise that you can enjoy from home, in particular, that's even better. I know jiu-jitsu schools are being closed around the world, boxing schools and so on, gyms. So, you know, shadow boxing will be very big at the moment. Practicing different techniques and moves. Stretching is something I'd encourage everyone to do a lot of, even without this pandemic. But you can do even more of it now, make it a priority in your training. If I see another Instagram fitness influencer encouraging people to do wide stance squats, I'll vomit. Stop it. That's all I'll say on it. Stop it. Get a clue. But again, something's better than nothing. So I should, you know, tone it back a little bit, I guess. But it's just hard to watch. Anyway, moving on. a lot of people walk around all day, every day with, suppressed and damaged immune systems from, adrenal fatigue, from terrible food choices, from alcohol, from drugs, not sleeping well, stress, and so on. So something that could just be termed reversal right now would be a really good idea to do. In other words, simply reversing those things, making sure you get good sleep, putting better stuff in your mouth, minimizing alcohol consumption. I know right now would be an opportune time for people to stay home and get on the drink. Not really going to help you in life. It'll help you escape reality for a short period of time. Certainly ain't going to change your reality long term. It's probably going to dampen it, if anything. When I say drugs, I'm not talking about prescription drugs or people going off them. Food, nutrition is just obviously a huge thing. It's interesting. This is a time, like, you go to the shops and everyone's panic buying, but I see no shortage of fruits and vegetables, the most important things we can put in our mouths. And it just goes to show how irrational a lot of the behaviours of people are at the moment. Sure, maybe 5% of fruits and vegetables aren't available, but the other 95% are there. And yeah, the prices are probably going up too. But I mean, with health, you either pay now or you pay later. And I'm someone who recommends that people pay now. Water is really important as well if you want to go the extra step. Again, for those that care enough, distilled and reverse osmosis water is absolutely the way to go. If you're doing reverse osmosis water, make sure you're putting some salt in there so you get some minerals, or take a chelated pharmaceutical grade nutritional supplement, because that's very important. There's nothing in reverse osmosis water, no good stuff, but also no bad stuff either. So you can just enhance it that way. Super encouraging to see China using intravenous vitamin C to treat a lot of people who are coming in with severe and critical cases of the virus. And the results of that thus far that I've heard on the grapevine are really, really positive. And I saw a report just recently in New York. There's a hospital, when people are presented with symptoms, they're giving them 3 to 4 intravenous vitamin C shots of about 1.5 grams, which is also super encouraging. What's interesting about that is you don't need to go to the hospital to do that. You can do it from home. Generally, you can get vitamin C tablets that are about 600 milligrams a tablet, or 0.5 gram a tablet. And all you need to do is take between 3 and 4 of those in one go, 3 or 4 times a day, and you get that dose orally every single day. So if you want to minimize the likelihood of any symptoms, just do that. Vitamin D is also something that's incredibly important, especially when people are being told to stay inside and self-isolate. They're not going outside and they're missing a massive amount of vitamin D. Vitamin D is, people with optimal levels of vitamin D in their blood have lower cases of all-cause mortality. Saying that in reverse is you live longer, if you generally speaking. So vitamin D now is super important. In particular, it's very valuable if you want to go and research it for upper respiratory tract infections and diseases. And that's what this virus, COVID-19, turns into, essentially, if left untreated, I believe. So I take between 5 and 6,500 international units of vitamin D every single day in my life, but I'm just guessing 2,000 to 4,000 every day, somewhere around there would make a difference. Keep in mind the elderly need to take more, because if a 20-year-old and a 70-year-old take the same amount of vitamin D, the 70-year-old will get about 75% less vitamin D is what my research tells me anyway. So if you're older, I'd strongly encourage you to take more. But they're just a couple of things that can make a huge difference. And the last one is checking in on people. This economic challenge that a lot of people are facing now, the rug's being pulled out from a lot of people. And there's probably a lot of people who don't feel really great about themselves right now, in terms of providing for their families perhaps. Their income's been taken away, not being able to pay the mortgage, the rent, car payments go out. And life's just changed as they know it short term. And our governments have done incredible things to support people with stimulus and packages, which I think is just incredible. I'm gobsmacked by how great it is. But it doesn't change the fact that people respond to stress and respond to change in different ways. There's a lot of people who do not embrace change well or deal with change well. So in these times, people might not feel like talking about their failures, because we live in a world where, failure is kind of covered up. I'm just encouraging you to reach out to people, to talk to them, have honest conversations, because it could make a real difference in their lives. And that's one of the reasons I've done this. I've just put my thoughts out there, being vulnerable with them, things that I'm seeing and feeling right now, and want to encourage people to, act in these ways. And hopefully this video can create conversations and connections, because technology is only getting better and better, and we're actually closer than we think we are, even though we're further apart right now. So hopefully this has been helpful.